Have you ever watched the woman you love walk away and thought, why? After everything I did for her, you picked her up. You listened to her talk for hours. You sent flowers on special days, paid for dinners, texted her good morning and good night without fail. You were the good guy, patient, reliable, always present. You did everything right, and yet she chose someone else, a man who didn't do half the things you did. You're left confused. Then you begin to doubt yourself. Was she ungrateful, or were you just not good enough? The answer, it's neither. The truth is, you made a mistake from the very beginning. You believed the more you gave, the more she would love you. You thought love was some kind of scoreboard. Whoever sacrificed more would win. You didn't realize women don't fall in love with actions. They fall in love with feelings. Here's the hard truth. You can give her the world, but if she doesn't feel something deep, it won't matter. You can do everything for her, but if you don't stir something in the primal part of her soul, you'll still be replaced. And the worst part? You won't understand why. This video is a wake-up call for every man who's ever been left behind, even when he gave everything. Together, we're going to peel back the layers and uncover 5 emotional truths about women. Truths no self-help book dares to say out loud, but every strong man needs to understand. This isn't about becoming dangerous. It's about becoming irreplaceable. If you've ever been hurt by love that wasn't returned the way you deserved, if you've ever believed that kindness was enough, then this video isn't just for you. It's for the man you're becoming. So let's stop wasting time. Let's begin. Truth 1. Effort doesn't equal love. When men misunderstand how love works. Have you ever watched the woman you love walk away and found yourself thinking, why? After everything I did for her. You were there. You listened. You brought flowers, paid for dinner, texted her good morning and good night without fail. You were patient, loyal, kind, always available. You were the good guy. And yet, she still chose someone else, someone who didn't do half as much. You were left confused. And soon, you started doubting yourself. Maybe women don't appreciate effort. Maybe I'm just not enough. But here's the truth. It's not about being ungrateful, and it's not about you not being good enough. It's that you were playing the wrong game from the very start. You believed that the more you gave, the more she'd love you. That love is earned through effort, like a prize at the end of a marathon. But love, especially feminine love, doesn't work that way. Women don't fall for what you do. They fall for how you make them feel. You could give her the world, but if she doesn't feel something deep, something stirring, you still lose. You could do everything right, but if you don't reach the emotional core of her being, you'll still be replaced. And worst of all, you won't know why, because most men misunderstand one thing. Women are emotional creatures. They respond to energy, presence, and feeling, not effort. You can knock on her heart with 100 grand gestures, but if there's no spark, the door stays closed. The more you try to prove your worth, the more you lean into neediness. And that energy, she feels it, even if she never says it. While you're busy showing how perfect you are, some other guy, calm, mysterious, unapologetically himself, says less, does less, and somehow captures her full attention. Because love isn't measured by your effort, it's measured by what you awaken in her. If she doesn't feel excitement, if there's no anticipation, no mystery, then you're just right on paper, but not right for her heart. So stop asking, what did I do wrong? Start asking, what did she feel when she was around me? Because in the end, emotion always wins over logic, and the men who understand that, they don't chase. They create connection. They leave an imprint. And once a woman feels that, she never forgets. Truth 2. Women fall for emotion, not for the fixer. There's a type of man who shows up a lot in modern relationships. He's dependable, always there when she calls. He fixes things around her apartment, drives her to appointments, stays up helping her write her resume, holds her while she cries about work or some other guy who broke her heart. He never complains, never demands anything in return. He's the nice guy, the emotional janitor. And then she chooses someone else. Why? Because women don't fall in love with their support system. They fall in love with men who make them feel something deeply. Whether it's frustration, curiosity, admiration, even tension, It's not about comfort, it's about chemistry. You see, emotional impact beats rational goodness every time. A man who sparks arguments but lingers in her thoughts. A man who drives her a little crazy but leaves her wanting more. A man she can't quite figure out. That's the one who gets under her skin. You were always helpful, always agreeable, always there. You became part of her life infrastructure. Reliable, replaceable, like a phone. Useful. Missed for a moment if lost, but not hard to move on from. Here's the painful truth most men don't want to hear. Helping her through tough times doesn't make her fall in love with you. She might appreciate you. She might even say you're amazing. But appreciation is not attraction, because once her life stabilizes, once she no longer needs you, you're out of the picture. You weren't the man she craved. You were the man she leaned on. You became a safety net, not a desire. And when a man builds a relationship on being needed, he'll always be replaceable once the need disappears. Even worse, you might start seeking out broken women just to feel valuable. You become a part-time healer, not a full-time lover. Women don't want to feel rescued. They want to feel alive. That only happens when a man brings masculine presence, self-respect, and a sense of boundary. A man who doesn't give everything away for free. A man who creates space and lets her step into it. She has to want you, not because you're helpful, but because something about your energy pulls her in and doesn't let go. Women don't fall for the man who makes them feel the safest. They fall for the one who makes them feel the most, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's confusing. The man who knows how to do that. He's the one she never forgets. Truth 3. The nice guy trap. Why being kind isn't enough. You've heard it 1,000 times. Be kind, be thoughtful, be a gentleman, and she'll choose you. And for a while, it seems to make sense. Women say they want a nice guy. They call you a great man. Such a rare find. They thank you after every kind gesture. And then they vent to you about another man. Because deep down, no woman wants to build a life with someone who feels like a soft pillow. She doesn't want to just feel safe. She wants to feel led. Society's version of a nice guy is someone who always says the right thing, avoids conflict, and keeps everything smooth, polite, predictable, pleasant. But to a woman's emotional world, excessive kindness, without strength, becomes invisible. The more you try to please, the less she notices you. The more agreeable you are, the less she feels the pull of your presence. Why? Because kindness without edge has no weight. You don't take a stand. You don't set boundaries. You don't offer contrast. You become the man everyone likes, but no one fights to keep. She knows you'll always be there. She knows you'll always say, "It's okay, I understand." She knows you'll never walk away, even if she disrespects you. And when a woman knows you'll stay no matter what, she stops trying. She stops wondering. She stops feeling. You become a certainty. And certainty doesn't trigger desire. It triggers complacency. This isn't advice to stop being good. It's a challenge to be good with a spine. A strong man can be kind, but he also knows how to say no. He can care deeply, but won't bend his values just to keep her happy. He brings warmth and stability, but also a sense of self that commands respect. That kind of man, he still opens doors and listens well, but he also knows his worth and won't let it be negotiated away. Kindness should be your foundation, but masculinity is your edge. And when you combine the two, you're no longer the safe bet. You become the standard she rises to meet. A man who refuses to shrink himself for love is the man a woman feels lucky to have, not entitled to keep. Truth 4. You don't need compliments. You need respect. Some men live for her praise. All it takes is a "you're amazing" or a heart emoji, and suddenly he's rearranging his entire schedule just to see her. He thinks that's love, but in reality, it's dependence. You don't need her to say you're the best guy she's ever met. You need her to respect your presence, even when you say nothing at all. A compliment is a response. Respect is a feeling, unspoken, deeper, and harder to earn. It's the way she adjusts her posture when you walk into the room. It's the way she becomes still around your calm. It's how she watches her tone, because she knows you won't tolerate nonsense. But many men fall into the trap of seeking validation. They text and wait anxiously for replies. They over-explain their intentions just to avoid misunderstanding. They apologize for things they didn't even do wrong, just to keep the peace. And each time they do that, they give away a little more of their masculinity. A woman can compliment you, but if you need those words to feel valuable, you've handed her the power to define your worth. She now controls your self-esteem like a teacher handing out grades. You become the student waiting to be approved, not the man who leads with quiet strength. And here's the hard truth. Women are not drawn to men they have to emotionally support. They want a man who doesn't need to be soothed, a man who knows who he is, without begging for approval. You don't need to be told you're good enough. You need to carry yourself like a man who already knows it. That means walking into a room with quiet authority. That means staying grounded when she tests your limits. That means holding your frame when everyone else bends. Real men aren't arrogant. They're composed. They don't perform for applause. They embody value, with or without recognition. And because they don't chase validation, they stand out in a world full of men seeking it. Remember, compliments are nice, but respect is what keeps you unforgettable. Be the man she doesn't flatter out of habit, but watches in silence because she knows she's in the presence of something real. Truth 5. Mystery and unpredictability. What she truly remembers. You think being consistent makes her feel secure. You text good morning and good night every day. You call each evening. You plan every weekend. You reply instantly to every message. At first, she seems happy, but slowly, something fades. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you became too predictable. The truth is, humans, especially women, aren't attracted to what they fully understand. Desire isn't born from routine. It's born from curiosity. Yes, safety and consistency build stable relationships, but attraction needs something else. Mystery. She doesn't want her love life to feel like a bus schedule. Morning text, midday check-in, evening video call, late night, I miss you. Repeat, repeat, repeat. No surprises, no questions. No what's he thinking today. And without those questions, desire fades. She doesn't want you to disappear. But she does want space to wonder. She wants moments when she asks herself, why is he quieter today? I wonder what he's working on. Will he show up tonight, or is he deep in something of his own? That uncertainty, that delicious unpredictability, isn't manipulation. It's the natural byproduct of a man who has a life beyond her. You don't orbit her. You have your own gravity. You move with purpose, not permission. You keep part of your world off stage, not for secrets, but for sovereignty. Mystery isn't about hiding. It's about not needing to be understood completely. A man who reveals everything on the first date is rarely the one she can't stop thinking about. But the man who shares thoughtfully, who lets her earn access to his world, that's the man who keeps her hooked, long after the conversation ends. You don't need drama. You just need to hold something back for yourself. Not everything belongs on social media. Not every moment needs to be explained. The more you live truthfully, yet not transparently, the more magnetic you become. She may like you because you're sweet, but she'll crave you because you're unpredictable, because she can't label you, because she knows you're not fully hers. And that mystery? That's what keeps her coming back. Not just to be with you, but to figure you out. Truth 6. Don't worship her. Challenge her. Many men, especially those who've been hurt, enter new relationships with one unspoken promise. As long as you're happy, I'll do anything. They praise everything she does. They avoid conflict. They never disagree, afraid to rock the boat. They turn love into a quiet form of worship. It sounds romantic, but in her eyes, it's a slow collapse. Because here's the secret no one tells you. Women don't want to be worshipped. They want to be challenged. Challenge doesn't mean being harsh. It's not coldness, criticism, or control. It's your ability to stand firm, even when she's upset. To hold your ground without attacking. To say, I don't agree with that. And not feel guilty when she frowns. That kind of quiet strength, it irritates her. It rattles her. But it also earns her respect. Because deep in a woman's psyche, true masculine energy is felt not through submission, but through contrast. You can be gentle without being spineless. You can love deeply without betraying your values. The challenge is your centeredness. When she gets moody, you don't mirror it. When she pulls away, you don't chase. When she tests limits, you calmly say, "Here's mine." And in that moment, when she realizes you won't bend just to please her, she's awake. She sees you, not as a boy seeking approval, but as a man who refuses to disappear into her emotions. Women don't crave constant praise. They crave truth. They crave strength wrapped in kindness. They crave someone who sees all of them, their light and their shadow, and stays rooted. That's the kind of man who doesn't need to raise his voice to be heard, who doesn't need to control her to feel powerful, who doesn't flinch when challenged. He's not trying to be liked. He's trying to be real. And that realness, that unshakable sense of self, that's what makes her respect you, even when she's mad at you, even when she doesn't understand you. And when a woman respects you and desires you at the same time, you never have to beg her to stay. Truth 7. Being needed isn't the same as being wanted. Maybe you've been in this situation before. She called you whenever things went wrong. She leaned on you when her world was falling apart. She cried on your shoulder after another man hurt her. She said, "I don't know what I'd do without you." And you thought, she must really care. I must be special. But then, when things calmed down, she left, easily, quietly, as if you were never part of the story. Because here's the brutal truth. Need isn't the same as desire. Need shows up in moments of lack. Desire shows up when someone chooses you freely, not out of desperation. She needed you when she was broken, but once she healed, she no longer chose you. You weren't the one she imagined a future with. You were the one who held her hand through the storm and was left behind when the sun came out. It's not that you didn't do enough. It's that the foundation was built on need, not connection. And if you're not careful, you start to define your worth by how useful you are to damaged people. You become addicted to fixing. You chase after women who are falling apart because being needed feels like being important. But it's not the same. And deep down, you know it. Ask yourself, if she didn't have any problems, would she still choose me? If I couldn't help her, would she still want to be around me? If I disappeared tomorrow, would she miss me? Or just the support I gave? If the answer isn't clear, you're not in love. You're being used. Even if it feels gentle and sweet, real love doesn't start with emotional poverty. It starts when two full people choose each other on purpose, not out of weakness, but out of resonance. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to be her savior. You just need to be a man who's grounded, whole, living with purpose. Because when a woman wants you, not your help, she stays, even when she doesn't need a thing from you. And that's when you stop being the one she leans on and become the one she never wants to let go of. Truth 8. The less you react, the more she respects. Have you ever noticed something? The men who speak less, who stay calm, who don't rush to explain themselves, they carry a certain weight. People pay attention, especially women, not because they're cold, but because they create space. And in that space, others adjust. Women are emotional by nature. They feel, they test, they pull, they push, not to destroy you, but to see where your boundaries are. And if you react too fast, too much, too often, she feels it instantly. She thinks, this guy has no center. He spirals just because I didn't reply for a few hours. And just like that, the attraction fades. On the other hand, when you don't react, when you stay still and simply observe, you force her to face herself. She goes silent, and you don't chase. She gets distant, and you don't scramble to fix it. She tests you, and you simply hold your ground. You're not doing it to manipulate. You're doing it because your inner world is stronger than your fear of losing her. That kind of restraint, it's power. It says, I care, but I won't collapse to keep you. And that kind of man. The one who responds only when something truly matters. He stands out. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain yourself endlessly. You don't need to earn your place. You simply exist, with presence, with stillness, with quiet confidence. And, oddly enough, that silence speaks louder than anything you could say, because when you stop trying to impress, she starts leaning in. When you stop overreacting, she starts respecting. And when she realizes you're not controlled by her emotions, But guided by your own code, that's when you become unforgettable. So no, reacting less isn't weakness, it's restraint. And restraint is rare. Every man can talk, but few men can be still. And stillness is magnetic. Truth 9. The man she'll never forget. You tried so hard to be loved. You believed, if I'm patient enough, kind enough, giving enough, she won't leave. But over time, you learned something painful. Love doesn't always go to the man who gives the most. It goes to the man who makes her feel the most. Because women don't fall in love with how much you do for them. They fall for the energy you bring, for the calm confidence you carry, for the quiet strength that says, I don't need to prove myself to be valuable. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need tricks, lines, or masks. You just need to stop trying to be chosen and start living like a man who knows he's worthy. Because when you do that, you're no longer loved for effort. You're loved for presence. And that presence, it doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It doesn't shrink. It stands firm. Even when feelings get messy. Even when she pulls away. Even when no one's watching. She may meet many men in her life, but she'll never forget the one who didn't try to buy her with comfort, the one who didn't bend every time she tested him, the one who never traded his integrity for a kiss. She'll remember the man who challenged her to grow, who saw through her walls, who forced her to rise into the woman she could be, not just stay where she was comfortable. And if you've been hurt before, if you've given your all and still been left behind, good. Let that pain wake you up. Let it end the chapter of self-sacrificing love. Let it mark the beginning of something deeper. A man who leads with principles, who walks with self-respect, who gives without losing himself. Isn't just attractive, he's unforgettable. So stop asking, what can I do to make her love me? Start asking, am I living like a man who is truly worth loving? You don't need to be accepted, you need to be respected. And when a man finally gets that, he doesn't need attention, he doesn't need tricks, he doesn't need to speak loudly, he simply is. And that's enough, because women don't love men who do enough. They love men who are enough, in a way that makes them think, if I don't hold on to him, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Final words, you don't need to be enough for her. You need to be enough for yourself. If there's one truth every man must face, it's this. You can give everything. You can show up, love hard, stay loyal. But if you're doing it just to be chosen, you've already lost yourself. Because love that requires proof isn't love. It's negotiation. And real masculinity doesn't beg for a seat at the table. It walks in grounded and still and lets her decide if she's ready to meet it. So here's the shift. Stop performing. Stop over-explaining. Stop bending so she'll stay. Start standing. Start walking with intention. Start becoming a man who doesn't just want love, but commands it through presence. Because women don't fall for men who chase approval. They fall for men who carry mystery, men who are calm under pressure, men who don't give everything away on the first date because they know not everyone deserves full access. You don't have to be flashy. You don't need to impress. You just need to live in a way that tells the world, I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to be who I am. And that kind of man, he doesn't get forgotten. He doesn't get replaced. He becomes the one she quietly compares every other man to and never quite lets go of in her heart. So if you've ever loved deeply and felt unseen, if you've ever been the man who did everything right but still lost, good. Because that pain, it's a doorway. Let it teach you. Let it strip away the habits of approval seeking. Let it forge a new way of being, rooted in depth, strength, and peace. And from now on, don't ask, how do I win her over? Ask instead, am I the man who stands so firmly in his truth that no woman could forget me, even if she tried? If this message resonated with you, if you're walking the path of becoming stronger, wiser, and more grounded as a man, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Light of Wise Elders, where we don't teach tricks to get attention. We teach truths to help you rise, because you weren't born to be remembered for being nice. You were born to be respected for being whole. We'll see you in the next one.